The forest moon of Varith, 9 was not supposed to have survivors. That was what the Krothian Hunters Guild had recorded in their mission brief. A routine extraction, locate the crashed human shuttle, confirm no survivors, strip the wreckage for salvage. Simple, clean, profitable. Hunter Prime Vorith had run 47 extractions in his career. He had never once filed an incident report. Tonight, that was going to change. Jack pressed his back against the curve of the broken hull, his breath slow, his eyes closed. Not from fear, from counting. He was listening to the forest the way his sister had taught him, the way their father had insisted. Feel the silence between the sounds, Jack. That's where the danger lives. 3 of them, moving in a triangle formation. Patient, professional. He opened his eyes and looked at Lily. She was already looking at him. Her left arm hung wrong, broken in 2 places from the crash landing, and there was dried blood matted into her auburn hair. But her eyes were steady, clear, calculating. She held up 3 fingers, then pointed in 3 directions. Yeah, he thought. I know. He had found the emergency kit 20 minutes after the crash. Flare gun with 2 cartridges. A survival knife. For protein bars. A medical patch kit. And one thing the Krothians would never expect to find in a human emergency kit. A roll of titanium fiber wire. Standard issue on all Earth vessels because humans had learned, across centuries of Deathworld survival, that wire was the difference between living and dying. Lily was already moving, silent on bare feet. She'd lost her boots in the crash and apparently decided this was not a problem. She moved through the undergrowth with the particular bonelessness of someone raised on a high-gravity colony world, her center of mass always low, always balanced. Vorith's scanner pinged. Movement. Northeast quadrant. He signaled his partners, Dreth and Kala, to flank. The human would run. They always ran. What they found was a tripwire. Not the primitive kind. This one was angled at precisely 0.3 meters off the ground. Too low for a Krothian standard stride to catch instinctively. Too high for their scanner beams to read as a ground obstacle. It was strung between 2 trees with 8 centimeters of slack, connected to a bent sapling that had been stripped, weighted, and notched with what appeared to be a protein bar wrapper serving as a release catch. Dreth hit it at full sprint. The sapling snapped upright. The wire caught him across the shins. His forward momentum took him horizontal, and he hit the soil face first with enough force to crack his helmet visor. Kala pivoted to help. She did not see the second wire, this one at throat height, until it was too late. The wire didn't cut her. It didn't need to. It caught her momentum, spun her sideways, and dumped her into the hollowed root system she hadn't noticed was there because the human girl had covered it with broad leaves and packed dirt 3 hours before anyone arrived. Vorith stopped. He stood very still in the sudden quiet and felt something he had not felt in 47 extractions. He felt like he was being watched. You're the smart one. The voice came from above. He looked up. The human girl was sitting on a branch 6 meters up, her broken arm tucked against her chest, the flare gun in her other hand pointed at his face. She was perhaps 22 years old. She had dirt on her cheeks and blood in her hair, and she was looking at him the way his old instructor had once looked at a training dummy. Not with anger, not with fear, but with professional assessment. You stopped, she said. That's good. Means you can learn. Vorith's hand moved toward his sidearm. I wouldn't, Lily said pleasantly. This is a class 4 emergency flare. At this range, it won't kill you. Krothian physiology is too dense. But it will blind you permanently in both eyes and set your shoulder carapace on fire. I read your species' medical file after the 3rd contact accords. Fascinating stuff. Did you know your nerve clusters are? What do you want? Vorith asked. I want you to call your ship, she said, and tell them you need a medical evacuation for 3 injured Krothians and 2 humans. And then I want you to explain to your guild how a Deathworld girl with a broken arm, a pocket knife, and 60 meters of wire turned your extraction into a rescue operation. There was a long silence. In the root hollow, Dreth was groaning. Kala was trying to untangle herself and failing because the wire had been wrapped in a specific pattern, not tight enough to cut circulation, tight enough to tighten further with every struggle. Practical, efficient, infuriatingly human. You planned this, Vorith said. It was not a question. I planned 6 versions of this, Lily said. This was version 3. Version 1 assumed you had thermal optics. Version 2 assumed you'd split up earlier. You were actually pretty textbook. She tilted her head. No offense. How did you know we were coming? Your ships make a specific sound when they hit Atmo, Jack said, stepping out from behind a tree to Vorth's left. Close enough that Vorth flinched despite himself. The human male was tall, calm, and holding a length of titanium wire between his hands with the casual readiness of someone who had used it before. We had about 40 minutes after the crash before you landed. Enough time. Enough time, Vorth repeated slowly, to build traps. With crash debris. With food packaging. We're from Earth, Jack said, as if that explained everything. It did. Galactic Medical Incident Report, filed by Krothian Hunters Guild, Extraction Team Vorth, 7. Incident date, Cycle 1144.7, Varith, 9 Moon. Casualties, 3, Krothian personnel. Hunter Dreth, fractured nasal ridge, 2 cracked mandible plates, concussion. Prognosis, full recovery. Hunter Kala, dislocated shoulder joint, lacerations from wire entanglement. Prognosis, full recovery. Hunter Prime Vorth, no physical injuries. Cause of incident. Primitive mechanical traps constructed post-crash by human survivors using available materials including hull plating, emergency kit contents, and standard food packaging. Human subjects, identified as Jack and Lily, displayed advanced threat assessment, environmental engineering, and tactical restraint inconsistent with Guild expectations for isolated crash survivors. Of particular note, human subject Lily constructed and deployed all primary trap mechanisms with one functional arm. Recommendation: update all Guild mission briefs. Revised threat assessment tier for human subjects from Class 2, Minimal Threat, Unorganized, to Class 5, Extreme Threat, Adaptive. Mandatory reading: Earth Ecological History, Terran Survival Psychology, and all available documentation on what humans refer to as making do. This report has no second page because the situation was resolved before further documentation became necessary. This is not normal. This is the problem. Lily let them help her set her broken arm on the Krothian medevac ship. She sat in the sterile bay and watched the Guild medic work with an expression of polite patience while Jack ate his third protein bar and looked out the viewport at Varith, 9 falling away below them. You could have run, Vorth said from the doorway. He had been standing there for several minutes, working something out. When you first heard us land, you had time. You could have gone deeper into the forest. We could have, Lily agreed. Then why didn't you? She looked at him with those same clear, calculating eyes. Because then we'd just be lost in a forest with a broken arm, she said. This way, we have a ride home. She paused. Also, if we'd run, I wouldn't have gotten to use version 3. And I worked really hard on version 3. Vorth stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something that his Guild colleagues would later describe as deeply out of character. He laughed. They filed no charges. The Guild paid for the medical treatment. Jack and Lily were back on Earth within the week. The Krothian Hunters Guild updated their mission briefs. It took them 3 years. The humans thought that was pretty slow, honestly.